I think the first one is positivity. I'll tell you a quick story. We had a great mile relay. Eventually, they were the national champions. But in one conference meet, important meet, we dropped the baton. It rolled off into the infield. We had about a 20-yard lead after our leadoff man. The baton is now in the infield and two teams pass us. Our number 2 man ran into the infield, got it, and ran up. He caught up quite a ways. The 3rd man caught up the rest of the way, and the 4th man ran away with it. And we won that. And we put on our T-shirts after that. What do you do when you drop the baton? I mean, that's a negative, right? And so we said, what do you do when you drop the baton? You pick it up and win.
Today we're here with Paul Olsen, an enthusiastic coach and professor of English at Augustana College. He's been producing winning teams and individuals since the mid-1960s. During his tenure, a total of 288 individuals and 46 relay teams have won league titles in indoor and outdoor track and field. Paul received several honors and recognitions such as NCAA National Coach of the Year, Augustana College Athletic Hall of Fame, Luther College Athletic Hall of Fame, and Illinois Track and Cross Country Coaches Hall of Fame, just to name a few. How are you doing today, Paul?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Can we kick things off with a little bit about your background?
Well, I grew up in a very small town in central Minnesota. It is small enough that I got to do everything because they needed all the people they could get. So I played every sport. I played in the band. I sang in the choir. I was in the school plays. I just grew up with a lot of experiences and a lot of different things, which eventually paid off in college and afterwards.
What inspired you to become a coach?
That's a great question. And I guess I'd have to say that every sport I played in high school and more so in college, I had great coaches myself. And I had, in every case, just wonderful experiences in those different sports. I wasn't very good in baseball in high school, but I loved it. I was much better in football and track and basketball. And I love that. Win or lose, it was always fun and always meaningful. And I thought this is going to be a place where, as I knew I wanted to be a school teacher, and I just added to that, I also want to be a coach because I know that I can just help young people have a good experience.
That's pretty cool. So it's like the love for the sport, but then also you had great coaches that inspired you to become a great coach.
True enough.
How did the coaches inspire you?
I think what I learned most is that you're always going to improve and enjoy the sport if the people around you, that means your teammates and especially the coaches, but everybody around you, is positive. You get phrases like "way to go" or "nice job" or "let's do this some more." Whatever became a positive reinforcement became an affirmation of not only what I was doing, but of who I was. And I've tried to carry that idea, especially the idea that who you are, that is whatever athlete or student in the class or athlete that I'm coaching, that who they are matters and that they are worthy of my attention and my help. And eventually, really, they're worthy of I love the guys I coach. So that's all part of it.
It's a really great response. And that's a good follow-up question too, Charlotte. Good job.
What are your top 3 principles to success?
That's a really good question. And I think the first one is positivity. I mean, there are studies, my own experience of 52 years of coaching tell me that being positive is always going to make the sport itself more meaningful and more fun. And it's also going to get the kind of results, both in wins and records and all the positive things that the media might measure that are really secondary to the experience of the athlete himself, but that all of those things can be, as I said, a meaningful experience because the response to that athlete's performance is always somehow going to be positive. I'll tell you a quick story. We had a great mile relay. Eventually, they were the national champions. But in one conference meet, the important meet, we dropped the baton. It rolled off into the infield. We had about a 20-yard lead after our leadoff man. The baton is now in the infield and 2 teams pass us. Our number 2 man ran into the infield, got it, and ran up. He caught up quite a ways. The 3rd man caught up the rest of the way, and the 4th man ran away with it. And we won that. And we put on our T-shirts after that. What do you do when you drop the baton? I mean, that's a negative, right? And so we said, what do you do when you drop the baton? You pick it up and win. And we did that. And that's true in track and field. You better not get too far behind or you can't do it. But that's true in track and field, but it's true in everything in life because we're all going to drop the baton sometime. And we just got to pick it up and win. And that's the positivity. And that's just an example of that.
I like that. You got to have that positive mindset.
Amen. I have a study that I care about and I've used to illustrate to our graduates who are going to go out and be high school teachers and coaches. It's a study of 2 sports psychologists took a group of 100 boys that were 10 years old. That means they wouldn't be conscious of motivating techniques or anything. They just did what they were told. And 1/3 of that group, all of them divided into 3 groups, they ran a 100-yard dash every day for a week. And then they measured how fast they ran the first day and how fast they ran at the end. And one group was always told, that was really good, but then and then they made a change. The next group was told nothing. They just ran it and they were done. And the 3rd group was told that was really good and then didn't do anything else, didn't coach them, didn't add anything. The only group that got better was the group that was told that was really good. Even they got better. The group that was told that was really good improved even more than the group that was told that was good and was coached. So it kind of says, 1, don't overcoach. Mm-hmm. It says 2, just build positivity, and what comes out of positivity is build confidence. It's the name of the game in athletics. It's the name in the game. I teach English in writing a research paper. If you're confident as you go at it, it's going to succeed.
I like that. It's really great, interesting study, actually. One of the things we try to do, Paul, when we go through these principles is we don't just leave it at the principle itself. We want to turn them into some practical how-tos.
Yeah.
So if you were to take positivity and turn it into a practice for somebody, how would you do that?
Well, we look at track and let's take an example of passing the relay baton. I picked that because in the Olympics, the United States hasn't done very well with the baton sometimes. They've passed out of the zone. We practice that baton pass every day. It may be only for 5 minutes, and we get 3 or 4 exchanges at each relay exchange zone, but we practice it every day. We make adjustments if we have to, but after a while, I don't have to say anything. They just do that, and then eventually, any adjustment a coach might make, the athletes can make it themselves. And then you've turned it over to them. And that's kind of what we hope, and I know it does. What happens is I can do that. So another kind of a concrete illustration is, hey, we got to switch 2 and 3 around for this race. They don't say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We've never practiced that. They say, we can do that. So that's one way. One is just to practice so that the athlete feels confident. But the other, I think, is to turn the whole process over to them. So the meet comes along. We don't all of a sudden start saying, we got to be sure to do this. We got to be sure to do that. We just say, good luck. We're going to go. And one of my favorite phrases is good luck. And my favorite phrase to hear back is, we don't need luck. We're confident. So that's one way to, I think, put that to work.
Can you explain that a little more? Because I get the one where here's practice. The other one's almost like kind of the person within that they just have to like take ownership, or
yes, and that's exactly it. They take the confidence in that we are good at this relay exchange, or if it's a single, not a relay, but I'm a good 1,500 meter runner, I am a good shot putter, whatever. If they turn those practice sessions over to themselves, that says, not only am I good, I can do this. And if there comes a situation that causes it, maybe it's a bad weather shot, maybe it's as I mentioned before, the change of the order of the relay. Nobody panics. They just, I can do that, because they are so, they've taken charge of it. They don't have to have the last minute instructions. Oh, let me help you with this. I don't do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like they kind of have to, I mean, it's ownership. They're taking ownership of just keeping that mindset that they can overcome these challenges.
Yeah, maybe another, I'm trying to find, I teach English, so you can't have abstracts, right? You got to have concrete illustrations.
Yeah.
Another one with a shot putter. He's this happened twice with two different people, and the outcome was the same. Two guys that became All-Americans were struggling on their first two throws. I didn't say, you got to pull your leg up a little bit tighter to the front. I didn't say, be sure you're keeping your shoulders square. I said, take a deep breath. You can do this. And all of a sudden, they're doing the correction. I didn't say, I didn't give them any biomechanical advice. I just said, take a deep breath. And they say, oh, they take that breath. I'm in charge. I can do this. I corrected it. They're saying to themselves, by just taking this deep breath, again, without any biomechanical instruction, take a deep breath, and boom, both of them hit the All-American mark. And I think that because you said it, they took charge of it. It was their, well, the positivity, one, you can do it. And two, I'm saying you can do it. They're saying I can do it.
Yeah, I guess, how do you get to that point? I don't know, Shell. I mean, do you have this? I don't know if you just kind of wake up and you're always on positive mode all the time, or you kind of got to get yourself there. Because we talk about this. Do you remember we talk about like success? Remember how we use the example of a track race? Charlotte? You don't remember that when we talk about the difference between somebody? Remember we give the example when one person has this mindset that, hey, I'm going to try my best, but these people are really good. I don't know if I can win. And then what's the other person? What are they thinking?
The one that actually tries their best.
Yeah, the other person could be on a different extreme where they're like, under no circumstance am I going to let anybody beat me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason we talk about that is because that person that really approaches it with that real desire, they come in with this unparalleled level of burning desire. When I talk to Charlotte about that, it's like that person, because they have that high level of desire, they tend to put a parallel level of effort to go with it. And most of the time you end up with the results that align with that extra effort. And it's almost like similar that you need to bring that within yourself to sort of amplify that desire to put yourself in that extreme positive state, to then be able to allow yourself to put in the effort that aligns with it.
I think I can help with an example. 400 meters is a long ways to run if you're a 100-meter runner. And so this happened to our team a lot. We'd see a kid that was really fast at the 100 and say, wow, if he had different kind of training, he could be a 400 meter. You can be a good 100 meter, but you can be a great 400 meter. So I can think of two athletes, but one is especially now to give this illustration, but it happened to many. Say, I think you'd be a great quarter miler. So I can't run that far. Well, but look how good you are in the 100, and look how good you are in the 200. You can be even greater in the 400. That's too far. And then, on the first time we ever said this, why don't we try the 200 or the 400 today? He ran it very well. Nothing great, but it was, I sure saw the signs. And the next week I said, well, let's run. After the 200, we're going to put you in the mile relay. There's only a 15-minute interval between, and that's when they're running the 5,000, between the 200 and the mile relay. He ran the 200. He set a record. He was very, very tired. He's had his hands on his knees. He was bent over. And I said, that was terrific. We're going to run the 400. He said, I don't think I can. My line to him was, you don't have to prove it to me. You have to prove it to yourself. He went on to be and he was part of the national championship 4x400 or the mile relay team. But it happened again, maybe a month later. He's feeling sick after the 200. He's dead tired. And I came over to him and said, are you ready for the 400? He looked at me and said, no, but I don't have to prove it to you. I have to prove it to myself. And he did. And on that particular day, I'll never forget it, he ran the fastest time of his life. But the trying to prove it to someone else is one thing, but to prove it to oneself is another thing. And it takes on, I think, the responsibility on himself, and it takes on when it works, and it always did, because I was positive, and his positivity just grew. But he takes on, I have to prove it to myself. I'm going to do that.
I like that a lot.
I'm going to do that is the positivity.
I like that a lot. I think that rings so true, that it's not about proving to others. It always goes back to yourself.
Amen.
That really comes back and hits home, because it's you, and you can only deal with yourself. All right, Paul, what's the next principle we got to cover?
Well, besides positivity, is that you surround yourself with people that it's kind of an overused word, and it's so abstract. I'll try to make it concrete. But with people that love you, and that doesn't mean it has to be a mom or a dad or a brother or a sister. It means all the people you work with, and that has to do with always demonstrating to others around you, every teammate, that they are important. And that means, to be concrete, the guy that's the national champion or the conference record holder or the conference champion is best friends with the guy who's just going to try to finish the race. Here's my example, trying to be concrete. It's the conference indoor track meet. The score is very, very close, and they run 2 heats of the 5,000. The first heat is just to let a bunch of kids get in the meet. And nobody in that meet is going to score in the 5,000. They're not going to run fast enough. But that runs, and kids will run, say, 16 minutes for 5,000 meters. We had the captain of our team, but he wasn't a shining star at all. He was in this slow heat, but he won it, and he won it in the fastest time he had ever run in his life. This was on the first day of a 2-day meet. After that performance by him, didn't count, no points scored, just the event was run. He ran his best. The shot putters that saw it said, boy, that was impressive. The quarter milers that saw the 5,000 said, wow, way to go, Brainerd. On and on they went with how the next day we had 10 performances in different shot put, long jump, triple jump, 800, all had seasonal, if not lifetime bests, seasonal bests. That night, I had a bunch of T-shirts printed. One, it said conference champs, but on the back it said, inspiration is contagious. This guy didn't score a point. He just did his best. And his teammates, if love is the wrong word, maybe it's respect, maybe it's admiration, maybe it's maybe it's love. It's my friend, but it's contagious, and the spreading that attitude, that positivity. I mean, he had to believe, gee, I can win this heat. And not only did he win it, he ran his best. Does that make, that's my illustration.
Yeah, it's like you can't, it's almost like you got to care about others. They'll in turn care about you.
Amen.
So it's like putting that, like, you can't just expect people to care and be that. You got to give, and it sort of comes back. And that's like putting that effort forwards. Where are you going to build the relationship, the camaraderie, like in the team example? So that's what I sort of interpreted as.
Yeah, that's good. And that's exactly right. But on top of that, you're doing your best, no matter what that is. The measurement isn't matter. The effort does. And that's the inspiration that brings out the best in others. And I think that's true not only in sports. That's true in you sit down with your roommate to write this freshman exam or this freshman 3-page paper on Moby Dick. You write and say, "How you doing?" "I'm getting it." I mean, it spreads, and I think that's part of teamwork. And I guess my word is, you can use words like teamwork. You can use words like inspiration, but what it means is my efforts, my positivity is contagious, and you're going to catch it too. You can't not.
Yeah, it's all. I kind of think of lead by example too.
Sure.
That hey, I'm showing you, like, we're going to do this. We bring in that positive energy, and really care about our work, the team, and it sort of spreads, where others start picking up that same inspiration.
You're right. And I think you're dead right. And I'll just add to that. You don't have to be the team captain. You don't have to be the national champ. This guy he was voted Keith Tracken because of his attitudes, but he never scored a point in any track meet. But he inspired a whole team. And that's leadership. You're right. So I think anybody with attitude and positivity can be a leader without having to have statistics that look shining.
What are your thoughts on that, Charla? Have you ever had some kind of situation similar where you like inspired others, or you kind of did something and other people kind of got behind you or motivated by it?
When I sold jewelry, but then some girl wanted to sell it, but like she was sort of copying me, but she got inspired by me though.
That's a good example.
It's a great example, because you could do it, huh?
Yeah, she probably saw it. It's like, she can do it. I can do it too.
Yeah. Way to go.
What's the third principle you got for us?
Okay, if we've got positivity, we've got leadership, we've got be sure that you can that you do demonstrate your love or your friendship, or whatever word you want to use, with all the people that you're working with. And then the positivity that you spread, that you take in upon yourself will then spread. So I guess I've already talked about the third one is inspire others by not by necessarily a performance that wins or places high or achieves some award like All-American or whatever, but just inspires because of the effort and the attitude. So I guess my third one then would be attitude, and that's complex and it's abstract word. So attitude means, do I come to practice and I'm eager to get to work? Do I come to practice and ask my teammates, how are you doing? Do I go to the class and say, hey, good morning? Whatever. It's spreading this energy and this demonstrated concern for the other people you're involved with. I'll give you a different kind of phrase that I've used in coaching a lot. If you perform in this sport, or pick whatever you want to, if you perform with enthusiasm, aggressiveness, that means confidence in yourself, the performances will take care of themselves. So another way to put that is if you run with enthusiasm, recklessness, that means I'm confident. The times and the winds and the heights and the distances you throw, they will take care of themselves. Attitude precedes performance.
I like that a lot. What would be like a how-to of that? You know, if you're dealing with somebody that's struggling with pushing themselves or having that enthusiasm and confidence, how would you encourage somebody to sort of build that into a practice that they can enact on?
It's a great question. And I can just give a couple things that we've always done in practice. Somebody who's new to an event sometimes should practice alone. So we've got a sprinter who I see with great ability, but he's not very good shape. He hasn't done off-season training or anything. And he goes out with a group of 6 other sprinters, and they run a 200 meters and then rest and run another 200. And he can't even finish the first one. He's got to do it alone. And he does it alone. And you say, whoa, that was great. What was my time? Doesn't matter. That was great. And so maybe for just a couple, 3, I don't know. Sometimes it takes a week. Just practice alone. And then you put him with somebody else, and all of a sudden he stays with them. That's one way. You just take them apart from making every practice and every workout become competitive. I'm on my own, and you come away with that, I can do this. Another way I think is almost just the opposite. Is that you're with a group, but you're then with a group, but it's a group that's in your ability level. I'm not going to put a 10-3 sprinter in with 3 guys that can run 11-3 that's much slower. The 11-3 guys are going to get beat every night, and they're not going to love what they do. They're not going to feel confident. So we put this group together. They finish together and say, hey, good job, guys. They turn around, they put their hands out, give me 10, give me 5, give me a high five, because that group then succeeded. So it works both ways, and it depends on, I think, the individual athlete. I saw one national champion who it took him probably a month of working out alone before he kind of, I guess I can do this, and I'm ready to run with Joe Blow or so. And the other thing is, I think, is to take away measurements. How far did I jump today? How high did I jump? How far did I throw? Let's just work on, are you getting your leg in the right position? Have you got the angle of your leg in the starting blocks? Oh, that looks good. That's good. Now just pop out of it and don't measure. Don't, no stopwatch. Or in some cases, I do this in English all the time. If I have a freshman class and some kid comes to my high school where he's got a straight A straight A's all his life, and all of a sudden in my book he writes a C paper, he doesn't want to see a C, so I don't put it on there. I say, this paragraph is good, this is good, let's rewrite this and we'll grade it later. And he doesn't have to think about whatever grade it was that in his head was, or her head, was a failure to her. I didn't see a grade. I just saw, this is good, let's work on this new paragraph. Or back to the athlete. That was a great start. We're not going to put you up in the line and have 5 guys work out or take off out of the blocks and you're dead last. You don't have to see that. Don't measure everything.
Yeah, it's like a view of almost being objective on where you can improve, and less about benchmarking yourself against the broader set.
Yeah.
You're more of like, let's just isolate and be able to be conscious about, here's things that I can improve on and work on that. And don't worry about the broader set or comparing yourself against others. And I like that example, how you have even starting with training alone and then kind of train with the comparable set and then kind of build up from there, and look specifically at the areas and less about, a bunch of like metrics and things beyond that.
Yeah. Well, we just watched the Olympics probably, and we saw what measurement pressure can do, even to world-class athletes. And if you interview those the kids, and I mean, we've had 27 national champions. If you interviewed them, they would talk about not, hey, I ran this back in 19 whatever. They're going to talk about the best experience they had. And I liked your phrase of, no benchmark. The benchmarks are going to take care of themselves. Or in track and field language, the times, the distances, the heights, they'll take care of themselves. Just be positive, be confident, be enthusiastic, all those words that say, I love doing this. And if it's in you, it's going to come out. And that, back to the kid that won the race that didn't score a point. He did it all perfect. And his benchmark was his own benchmark, not up against, well, gee, I had the 5th fastest time on the team. No one cared. Look what you did with your own internal kind of measurement.
Yeah, you spread that around. Charlie, you got any thoughts or questions about enthusiasm and confidence? Do you have any things that you do that you work on where you kind of benchmark yourself or just focus on yourself in areas to improve?
Yeah.
Like what?
I draw sometimes for fun, but then if I want to make it better, then I see how I could make it better.
That's a good example. I guess that's pretty visual too.
Yeah, if you didn't like what you drew, you'd pretty soon stop drawing, and you just keep going at it.
Can you relate to your 3 principles to your best moment in life?
Well, I think I've been blessed. I've had lots of best moments. It took a while, but I think the idea to be able to say, I can do that, has, for me, if that's what you're asking, shaped my attitude towards graduate school, towards going out for a sport that I had never competed in before, and just saying, I can do that to myself, because I really didn't have a measurement in mind. I just thought, I'm going to take a course in a literature period that I've never even looked at before, and just say, I think I can do that, because I have no measurement. I just want to make that, I guess we can say to young athletes, I want to try. I think I can do that. And then I guess once we attempt to do something, we put it in a bigger context, a context that says, this is my moment to do this thing, and I'm going to do it with enthusiasm. That doesn't mean I have to be a cheerleader and jump up and down. It just means this is a moment that I'm not going to let go. I'm not going to waste this. I'm going to get on this bike for the first time in my life, and if I tip over, I'm thinking of myself at 4, and if I tip over, I'm going to get back on, because this is, I'm sure I wasn't conscious of that kind of language at 4, but I thought I can do this. So I think that I can do this goes with us our whole life. And when we're confronted with something that looks tough, just, well, I don't have a measurement. I don't know how it's going to come out, but I'm going to give this a shot, because I say it again, I can do this. I don't know if that makes sense, because you've asked, it's a big question. And where does it, in the best moments? For me, it's going on to graduate school. For me, it's studying in a field that I had never studied before. For me, it's a sport I had never competed in. Can I run? I was a quarter miler. Can I run that far? I was a track man. Somebody said, "You're pretty fast. You should come out for track." I said, "Okay." He said, "You'd be a good quarter miler." I said to the coach, "How far is that?" I didn't even know what it was, that it's a whole lap around the track. He said, "It's a lap. It's one lap." I can do that. I didn't know how hard it was.
Mhm.
But I said that. I think I can do that. And by the way, I didn't start off very good, but I got there.
It goes back to being positive and back
It
to
does.
mindset.
And another one that I haven't said that should be in that list of things that the three most important things, because I did this with our teams always. No, I would tell every athlete, is mostly individually as opposed to a whole team at once. Know that you have the freedom to fail, because taking the freedom to fail is probably going to mean that you won't. And when you do, it's the pick up the baton. What are you going to do? That's failure, right? You pick it up and you win. And you you said it earlier, guys, that you put that behind you. It's not even behind you. It's just erased. And if you're willing to, you have to teach yourself to be okay with that mistake, that quote, the world measures it as failure. Yeah, but look at the next time.
I like that line, freedom to fail.
Yeah. If a teacher doesn't, anybody in charge of kids doesn't express that or demonstrate, you don't have to even talk about it, but demonstrate that it's okay to, quote, fail as the world measures you, you're going to go on to great success.
How do you challenge your team to stay at the top of the line?
They are at the top of the line. That's a good question. And how do you stay there? I think it's to remind them not that they're there, but how they got there. And by that, I mean, we can't say to this year's team, "Hey, we were great last year. We've got to continue that tradition." I never talked about that. I would talk about, we had a great team last year, and we got guys that were on that team from the year before, if we want to follow this example. How did we get there? What did you do? What did we do to get there? And then it takes upon themselves, and I think the more any leader can do that, let the people that you're leading take this assignment upon themselves, the more successful they're going to be. And then, therefore, in the team example, the team is going to be. So how did we get there? Well, I'll try to be concrete. I got up every morning, a distance runner, they run twice a day. I got up every morning and went for a 4-mile run before I went to class. I never skipped breakfast. I always ate sound, nutritionally. I was conscious of what I ate and what I didn't eat. How did I get there? How did we get there? As a team, I would talk, we get there because when the 1,500 meter is running and they go by the shot putters down at the end of the track, on the edge of the track, they cheer for them as they go by. We get there by being enthusiastic for others. So it's a focus on, you're at the top. You're the conference champions last year. How did you get there? And you just take that upon them. They take that upon themselves to know how they got there, and they're going to do it again.
Pretty cool. Like, remind yourself that what it actually took you to get there to help preserve it.
I didn't just show up.
Yeah.
Has anyone from your team failed you as a coach? How did you deal with it?
That's a really good question. And if you're around a team, different teams for 50 years, and I was, and often 100 guys on the team, you're going to have what the world calls failure. One, the failures that I saw were not measured by performance. No good runner, good thrower, jumper is going to try to, quote, fail. They just have a bad day. Failure usually means not living up to their own code of either behavior or work effort or focus. Let's give an example of focus. You have a big test on Monday, but Saturday before that Monday, you've got a track meet. And this big test is really important and you can worry about it. And so then you have to kind of compartmentalize. No, today is the race. I'll take care of that test when the race is over. The person that can't maybe, and I don't know that compartmentalize is the right word, but at least stay focused on the now, can sometimes lead to failure. For athletes, I think it sometimes means, I didn't come to practice today because I didn't feel like it. By the way, I didn't have very many athletes ever do that, but they can. I chose to go to a fraternity party Friday night, and we stayed up way too late, and I missed Saturday morning's practice. Okay, that would be a failure of responsibility. I would do things like, okay, explain to the team why you were not here. I remember a guy that did that. He was the captain of the team. He didn't do anything wrong the night before this early morning practice. He just stayed up too late because a friend came out of town. And I don't know if they watched TV or they play cards or whatever they did, but he was up till 2:00 in the morning and he slept through the next morning practice. But he came very late. And I asked him why, and he told me, and I said, okay, why don't you tell your teammates why you're late? And he did it honestly. And guess what happened? One, they all understood. They forgave him. One, because I think he was honest. And two, because he expressed, I know I let you guys down by not being here. But once again, I think it doesn't, for me anyway, it didn't require a scolding or a punishment. It required an explanation to the people for whom it had consequences. And by the way, he was never, ever late again.
Yeah. I like that, where you kind of gave the ownership to him and let him explain, where the fault was and whatnot, instead of just yelling at them. It was more of giving them an opportunity to communicate and letting it almost like reinforces that accountability that's yours. Like you take it, you explain to the team what happened.
Yeah. And if you're coaching a team, that kind of responsibility to others is how you build a team. You don't build a team, I don't think, by hollering at the kid and scolding them and saying, don't ever do that again, and I'm going to punish you for 2 weeks, or you can't run in the meet next week because you skip practice. No, his team respected him more with his apology, his honesty. He didn't have an excuse like my alarm clock didn't go off, or he just said, this is what I did and it was stupid. And yeah. We're talking about two different things that unite, and that is the development and the responsibility of the individual, and then the relationships that come out of that responsibility to create a team.
Yeah.
I saw this is, boy, 12 years ago, doesn't matter when. We had a high jumper who had been injured, badly injured, had to have surgery, and he was a defending national champion, and he was coming back off this injury, and our high jump area is on the far end of the track of the track, and so that means they were about 150 yards apart. This one guy was a shot putter. Our high jumper is down here far, far away. They're friends, but there's no way he can even know what's going on. The thrower's up on one end throwing, this guy's jumping down the other end. And all of a sudden the crowd just went crazy down by the high jump pit because this guy who had been so severely injured, had to have surgery, just qualified for the national meet. Everybody's cheering, and this guy at the other end, this 240-pound shot putter, just sprinted across the field down to that end of the track, picked up his teammate and said, "Way to go, you're going to nationals." That connection to a completely different event in that moment, 150 yards away, I think was created by all of those guys, in this case, these two, this high jumper and this shot putter, having a connection developed over understanding what the other guy has to do, what kind of, the other guy that's connected to the story before, had to go to practice all the time, had to overcome the results of this surgery, and that process earned the respect of this shot putter 150 yards away. And now the more I talk about the story, I'm not sure it connects as well as I thought it did. But what it demonstrates is that the individual work of each of those guys made this connection matter enough that he left his throwing for a moment and had to sprint and give his friend a high five.
Yeah, like it's a real camaraderie that he sort of, just the way they go out of the way to support each other.
Yeah, and related to the kid that missed practice, you know what your teammate has been through. You know what your teammate is thinking. And when he has this achievement, you're going to celebrate with him.
What's the best mistake you've ever made?
I read that question about 14 times, I think. I suppose is what I thought was a mistake at first. If that's how I've interpreted that question. I was a high school teacher, teaching English, coaching football and track. And really, I thought all my athletic career through high school and college that I wanted to be a football coach. And the college I'm at now, Augustana, way back then, 53 years ago, called me and said, "We're looking for a track coach. I wouldn't be coaching football, and I wouldn't be teaching English. I didn't have a high enough degree. I could teach high school, but I surely couldn't teach in college." And I thought, no, I really want to be here. I've got all my friends here. I'm coaching the sport that I thought I loved the most. And I said, well, I need a lot of time to think about this. So they offered the job. I thought for a week, and I called him up and said, no, I don't think I can come. And the guy said, we'll give you more time. So mistake number one was, I don't think I'm going to come. He called 2 weeks later and said, you have to make up your mind. It's too long a story to tell now in the process of making up my mind. But I said, send me the contract. I'm going to come. But for me, I had a fourth of a school year to go to finish at this high school that I loved, to go to a place I didn't even know about. And I thought, boy, this is really a mistake. And I remember my friends and we got together just the night before I moved back down, or moved away. And we just had a supper together, and I had tears in my eyes thinking, what, I'm leaving this? That was a big mistake. Except that I stayed at the college for 52 years. That's the best mistake I ever made, I guess.
Yeah, you took a chance on the unknown.
And one of my favorite stories. It's kind of a joke. As a man falls off a cliff, and on the way down, he's falling, and he catches a branch, and it stops his fall. But he's got 200 feet from the top where he fell from, and 200 feet down to the canyon below, and he's hanging onto a stick, and he calls out for help, 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 help. Can anybody help me? And a voice comes out of the cloud and says, yes, I can help you. And he hollers back up, well, what do I have to do? He said, let go. And then the guy hollers back, well, is there anybody else up there? In other words, he didn't want to let go. He didn't want to let go of the thing that he knew best, the thing that he was hanging on to, the most secure thing in his life. Somebody else help me. I can't let go. And the story tells me that sometimes you have to let go of the most secure thing in your life. And it takes imagination. It takes a kind of courage, and a better word than courage is to be not afraid. Because courage means I can do it. Well, to be not afraid of the uncertainty and the ambiguity. So in that joke, the guy says, is anybody else up there? I can't let go of this thing. He could hang on to that branch for the rest of his life, but it wouldn't be much of a life, would it? Just hanging there in the middle of nowhere. So if you let go, this voice, call it God, call it whatever you want, said, I'll help you. I let go of a branch way back in 1965, and it was the best mistake I ever made.
That's such a great story.
What advice would you give to the next generation of leaders?
Well, we've talked about it so much already. If, as a leader, you share the load, and by sharing the load means you turn over the excuse for why you mispractice to the athlete himself. You give responsibility. You respect the responsibility to the people that you're leading. As a leader, you're an enabler. You're a confidence builder. You're a you can do it kind of person. And I think teachers and coaches and people, anybody that leads, whether it's an industry or a company or a grocery store, is to allow to give away responsibility and to build the people, build up the people in their confidence, their I can do it attitude, without kind of my favorite line to students that I coach who are going to go out to be coaching is to don't overcoach. Let the people that you're leading take responsibility.
Yeah, that's a really great theme. Give them responsibility, let them learn to take all the accountability.
Yeah, the coach, the athlete that's has got 6 throws and he's throwing one out of bounds and the other one doesn't go where it's supposed to go, and to turn to his coach and say, "What do I do?" I would rather have a coach have the athlete say, "Boy, there's 2 that aren't the way I'm going to do it. Here, I watch this one," without nobody told him what he had to do. But that doesn't mean that the coach can never help with biomechanics or anything. But what it means is the athlete is confident enough in himself that I can fix this. And maybe I can fix this goes through every dimension of our lives, not just track and field. I can fix this.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate the time and lessons we've learned from you.
Thank you. I've been honored to be trying to answer your questions. You did well. Thank you.